Hello. I'm up at 7 a.m. to claim this genre if it hasn't been claimed already. It's called DIYWM. DIY with me. Here's the deal. I have this recliner right here. It's in 3 pieces currently, but I was reclining back in this thing, and this part snapped. I'll show y'all pictures of the damage. That silver circle you see, that is basically one carriage bolt holding that entire thing. And I'm guessing that this is a very old recliner and the weight capacity is very high. I'm over 200 pounds. I'm sure the max capacity of these older recliners is much less than the recliners of today. And I've gone through such a long process of trying to repair this. I've tried to scratch out the bolts because the bolts basically like squeezed in there. I guess the way these reclining mechanisms are made, they make these very specific bolts for them so that they can never be removed. So I tried to scratch it out with these little sharp tools. I'll provide pictures for a visual. I tried to scratch it out. That took hours. After that, I'm like, okay, I can't get this thing out. I need to glue these parts together. So I went to Lowe's and I got epoxy. This is 2-part epoxy. And if y'all want to get this is called DAP, heavy duty epoxy. Only $8 at Lowe's if you're in the state of Texas. And here's the resin. This is a 2-part epoxy, and I used it wrong like 2 times. First time, I put the accelerator on the circle, the silver circle. Then I put the resin on second. That's not a proper way to do it. Then I did the second time, thinking that it's just cause like there wasn't enough. No, I did it completely wrong, because the instructions say to mix it in order to get that epoxy. I didn't do that. So I did it properly, and then I didn't mix it in a line. I mixed it on the silver circle, and I waited a very short amount of time, like 4 hours for it to cure, after holding it in place with a wrench. I'll show you how I held this thing in place. It's a pretty cool way. So I had this thing on its side, fully reclined, and I basically like held it in place with this. After 20 minutes of holding, I waited for like 4 hours. Then I thought it was fixed for a second. I was so excited. Then it snapped again. So this time I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to put it on a piece of cardboard to mix it. And I mixed it with a Q-tip. Then I used the Q-tip to circle around the spot where all the old epoxy was. But I had a little piece of metal that I put it on. And I've waited over 24 hours. I'm not going to put my hopes up, because this thing has snapped on me every single time I've tried to repair this. But here is how it's holding up reclining. I mean, this thing's holding up pretty well. I mean, that thing's shaking as opposed to this, which is just staying still, but it's doing a solid job. Like, I'm trying to break this thing, but it's just not breaking. So now I need to put the recliner back, this back piece of the recliner back on, and test this out for myself to really see how this thing works. Yeah, it's a lost cause. As I was trying to put this thing back on, it snapped. So now I can say that this thing is trash. Let down, but oh well. Alright, this is my last ditch effort. This is an absolute last-ditch effort. So really, the only main purpose of this part is to have a gliding mechanism, just like with this. I mean, they're not stuck together because there's a green washer in between. So really, there just needs to be enough space so that the thing can slide. Well, all this dried up epoxy is pretty helpful for gliding. So I'm just gonna tape the hell out of this thing and see if that works. All right, little update. Tape solution sucked. I used boxing tape, which wasn't initially like that. Already wasn't a good decision on my part because the tape was not holding the thing in place. So I thought, okay, I just need something to, because at this point I don't care if the thing reclines. I just want this thing to work and not dip to the right side. So what I got was heavy duty zip ties. This has tensile strength of 175 pounds. I saw ones online that were 250, but I would have to wait a week to get them, and I just want this recliner to work so it's not on my mind the whole week. So, yeah, I'm gonna put these on. Let's just see if this thing can work. I'm optimistic that it can. So at this point, I don't care about reclining, I just care about having a recliner that I can sit in. Okay, looks like it secures like that. I'm gonna have the big end. Oh God, this thing is not staying in place. Of course, of fucking course. I may do another one just to make sure that this thing stays in place. Okay, just make sure it's on top of that. Okay, got the first one off. There, Jesus. All right, we got the cable ties on. Now let's see if this thing can hold in place. All right, update. I didn't just want to show a bunch of videos of me tightening zip ties, but here's what I added. So I added another one. I don't know if I showed that already, but I'll shine a light on this. But essentially, added a third one to wrap around these two so that this stays in place. Stayed in place pretty good. I used this one. If you could see, I put it underneath this piece that glides. This is the gliding piece. It's connected to this. I put a zip tie through it so that it's lodged in there so that it stays in place. Tied that really tight. Then I thought, okay, I need the other side to be the same also because I just want to sit in this thing. So what I did on the other side, since this is already in place, and if y'all are curious, these aren't exactly screws that you could just take out with a screwdriver. These are special bolts that the recliner companies use. That's why I needed to use glue. But anyways, I used this zip tie. Since I couldn't get through this, since it wasn't loose, I went around here, around the base, and I tied that pretty tight. Another update, the 3 ties snapped. So at this point, I just have one. But here's what I did to make sure that the footrest stays in. I put zip ties right here. So it's able to open, but this has tensile strength of 175 pounds. So if you wanted to, you had to put a lot of strength into this in order to get it out. But yeah, I'll be back with the backrest on. Looks fine to me. I mean, it may not be perfectly straight. Let's see from the back here. Yeah, just angled off just a little, but I can deal with that, honestly. I can deal with that. So the final thing I did, putting back the bag was a pain in the butt. So, let's shine a light on here. I put one more right there, just so like that doesn't fall. I took off the washer that goes here. Yeah, but I got my money's worth out of these zip ties. I used every single one of them. Let's sit in this thing. This feels fine. Let's go. Oh. Here's what my hands look like. All dark. I'm a real working man. I got dirty hands. I got hard hands, brother. All right, thank y'all for watching DIYWM. DIY with me. Success.